All right. I think we're live.
Yeah, I think so.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, good.
How are
Good.
you?
Good. Good, It's like about to storm over here. Like
Um,
about
there's
15 minutes ago, it just started thundering really hard and the wind's blowing like crazy. So,
so it's just super funny. Like 30 minutes ago, I got like a thing on my phone and it said thunderstorm warning, and I was like, "What are you talking about? It's like 105 degrees outside." And so I was like, "No way, this is real." So I pull this is fake news. So I pulled up the radar and I was looking at it. And I was like, "Oh, there's a thunderstorm coming through."
right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the cold front. Tomorrow it's only gonna be 100 instead of 105.
Oh, that's great. Dang, it's like winter. Excited.
Oh my goodness.
I guess we can launch ourselves into this cold front with Havdalah,
Yeah, it was so funny 'cause,
huh?
like 10 minutes ago. I was just watching. Brittany and I were watching a show, and all of a sudden I see like lightning outside, and I was like, "Oh, all right, it still might get us. It's supposed to die out, I think." And then so I like start counting. It's like what I do. I just start counting, and like I get so high, I just stop counting. So I'm like, "All right, it's nothing." And it's like 20 seconds after I stopped counting, it was like the whole house shook with the thunder, and I was like, "Whoa, that's some thunder."
Man. Cool. Yeah, well, y'all stay safe.
You
I know,
too.
right?
So, yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and start our Havdalah. Um, and we'll end the Shabbat on a sweet note. And Jessica's got all the elements, the wine, the spices, and the candle. And Rabbi Ari has all the stars. So in case anybody was wondering, we can see all of our stars right there. Exactly. So you guys sing along from home if you know it, and if you don't, I'm pretty sure you'll catch on really quickly. Like probably like the second time through. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la lie la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la lie la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Bore peri hagafen, bore peri hagafen, amen. Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Bore mine vesamim Bore mine vesamim Amen Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai La lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai La lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Bore meorei ha'esh Bore meorei ha'esh Amen Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai La lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai La lai la 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 lai lai la la lai la la lai Eliyahu Hanavi Eliyahu Hatishbi Eliyahu 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 Hagiladi במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. Amen. And so we extinguish the fire in the wine and we say Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. Jessica, you're on mute.
Shavua Tov.
There we go. I was like, Shabbat can't end until you say Shavua Tov. Like, we're still stuck here.
Oh my goodness. I saw a meme today. Or actually, I saw it yesterday. And it said, what are things that we really appreciate during coronavirus season that we want to take out and keep after this is all over? And it says, I still want to be able to mute people.
We need a remote.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually pretty funny.
That's not the meme I saw. The meme I saw was quote of 2020, you're on mute.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one too.
That's the one I saw.
Yep.
So we are continuing to look at this book, Sabbath, A Gift of Time by Bonnie Wilkes. Let me see if I think I can get this to pop up here. That's what it looks like. In case anybody wants to see. And we are taking a look at, so here's what's super interesting. We're taking a look at chapters 11 through 15. Except in my copy, there's no chapter 15. It goes from 14 to 16. So I went with one less chapter this week. You know, you take what you're given. It's been a long day, so I'm excited. So she begins to point out in chapter 11 this idea that Shabbat, the focal point of remembering Shabbat and keeping it holy, actually is primarily in the home. And it starts in the home with Erev Shabbat. We light the candles. We welcome in Shabbat. When we do Havdalah, oftentimes it's at home. That sort of thing. And so it's interesting that she brings that up, and then she says that traditionally in the Jewish community, synagogues are primarily for the feasts and appointed times of service. So this is like Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, all of which are coming up. Although Sukkot, by the way, for those of you watching, Sukkot will be here in 1 month. 1 month and like 3 days or something like that. But basically 1 month. And Sukkot is a time when we Jewish people camp. And I say that because I have a friend, and thankfully I'm not going to say this person's name, but their family hires someone to build a sukkah for them in their living room. So to me, like, that is the epitome of, of Jews who don't like to camp. So, I mean, I'm saying all that. My wife doesn't like going outside because bugs like to eat her. So it doesn't bother me because the bugs eat her, not me. But anyways, I love my wife. And I also know she's not watching because she's watching a TV show in the other room. So Shabbat, for those who are willing, is a gift, gives us a gift, and that gift is time. And what's really interesting is until you really focus on getting rest or taking time away to relax, rejuvenate, that sort of thing, you don't actually realize how high strung and how busy our lives are. So there has been, she talks about a resurgence of people who are eager to celebrate Shabbat in some form or another, both in the Jewish community and in the Christian community. And some people are just simply in need of rest, and so they observe Shabbat based upon the principle that you see in Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, which says God worked for 6 days and then he decided to take a rest. So this principle, Pastor Robert from Gateway Church really teaches this principle of maintaining rest in your life and maintaining a real day that regularly happens on a weekly basis, that's restful. Like it's the day when we don't do work. We keep ourselves separate. We spend time with the Lord. We spend time with our families, that sort of thing. What's interesting is she begins to point out actually how Shabbat, celebrating Shabbat with especially in a family context, brings the Father's presence actively into the lives. So the Father gets up, the Father praises his wife. You know, it's a time when, as men, we recognize what our wives do, and we honor them. And these are things that we should be doing all the time. However, on Erev Shabbat, it's actually set, and it makes it recurring, just in case we forget the rest of the week. What she says, and this is actually super interesting, is she says, rarely do I hear men praise their wives openly in social settings. And it makes me think that if that's the case, when we have that opportunity to praise our wives in a social setting, be it Erev Shabbat dinner or something along those lines, what it does is actually builds one another up. We build each other up through that. And that if we diminish the role of fathers and husbands, we actually begin to remove them from the role in Erev Shabbat. And that role on Erev Shabbat is the laying down of their lives for their families. It's a role that that Yeshua encourages us in. In Ephesians, Paul talks about men and how we're supposed to love our lives as the Messiah loved the body. And just in case that wasn't enough explanation, he then says, even to the point of sacrificing your own life for her, laying down your own life for your wife, for your families. And so when you get that level of commitment, it actually changes the relational aspect with one another. Excuse me. I've been on Zoom calls for 6 hours today, I think. Maybe 5 hours, something like that. Long time. As for the gift of time, it's interesting because she says, and she references Abraham Heschel, a Jewish scholar well-known Jewish scholar who's brilliant, uh, just very insightful. And he says that time is more important to God than things or places. And I find that very interesting, actually, because certainly we as Americans, and really I think it's just a human thing, we think we want toy. Like if as a parent I asked my child, I said, "What do you want?" My child is going to tell me, "I want this toy. I want that toy. I want this for breakfast. I want." It always is something. When in the end, all the child really wants is the time spent with you in active engagement. And when you think about that, that's the same relationship that we have with God. We say we want this thing, we say we want that thing. What we really want deep, deep down, or maybe I should say what we really need, is actually the time to spend with God and interacting with Him. And that's the most important thing to Him. Just as parents, it's very important for us to spend time with our children, and we see that what that does. What's interesting is the Jewish calendar centers around time. So every week we have Shabbat, that's time. Every month we have Rosh Chodesh, which is time, it marks time. Every year we have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot, all marking time. Um, and so it's important, and also even beyond that, we have every seventh year is the year of Yovel, the year of Jubilee, and then even I'm sorry, every seventh year is the sabbatical year. Every 50th year is the Yovel, the year of Jubilee. All of these revolve around time, and anyways, it time is an important thing, and really, it is. It's especially important to us today because we live in a society now. Maybe coronavirus has changed that a little bit, but we live in a society where our time is under pressure. In other words, we're pressured to fill our time with as many things as possible. Um, we want to do 35 things a day. And if we didn't get our 35 today, then we're going to do 45 tomorrow. And so what we do, this is what she says: contemporary society trades time for gaining more things and seeking more pleasure. And in reality, the more we seek that, the more it evades us and we're left wanting. Um, so it's important for us to take the time and set it aside and learn that this is enough. And and that's the end of chapter 14. And there's no chapter 15, at least in my book. So, you guys got anything you want to say?
No, I just think that's cool how you were talking about how he marks time. Um, and you always hear like time is important, don't waste it. Time is important, don't waste it. But you even see that throughout Scripture of God marking time and constantly reminding us. I mean, even in creation, He talked about there being 6 days, and on the seventh He rested. Like, even though we may not understand His concept of time or whatever, He's still telling us that it's important. Like, He still gave us the sun rising and falling for a reason. So it's just kind of interesting, bringing a new perspective to that, and how like the Moedim set time markers.
Yeah, it's really, when you begin to look at least in on the in the Jewish life, um, we have a weekly rhythm of every Shabbat. We have a monthly rhythm of Rosh Chodesh every month. We have a yearly rhythm, and then in those rhythms we have weddings, we have births, we have bar and bat mitzvahs, We then have more weddings, and we have death, and all of these things are markers in time, and and they're all meant to be. Um, it sounds weird to say the word observed, but something like the word observed. I'm not sure what the right word is, but they're meant to be. Um, the participant is meant to be in the moment at that moment, and to be within it, even in something like death. And in fact, I think I have given this analogy in one of my messages, probably I think it was a year or two ago, that um, for those of us who work particular jobs where we have projects, um, when you start a project, physiologically your body is given like something like endorphins that give us the energy, and we're like, oh, we're so excited, we really want to push through and see this project through. And then it's kind of like when you read a good book. You start, you love it. By the time you get to about 3/4 to maybe the last chapter, you're like, whoa, 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 I don't want to stop. Like, I'm only going to read 2 paragraphs today. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is how I am. I'll get to the end of the book. I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to stop. Like, I'm just so into the book. I'm like, no, no, I got to make this thing last. And this is kind of the way we treat life as well. Is the reality is the end is an important moment, and and we're meant to fully participate in it, in that cycle. And in the life of a project, often what we will do is we will see a project 3/4 of the way through. We don't want to experience the letdown of the end of the project, so we start another project, and that kicks our bodies into overdrive again, and we're ecstatic, all sorts of things. But our bodies never like make the completion cycle of that. And it's an important thing to. And even in this season when it's highly difficult and sad when people, I mean, we all have known multiple people who've passed away during this time. um, to me, it's an extremely difficult situation, because in a lot of cases people haven't been able to be with their loved ones at that moment um, of passing, or to be able to share the last few moments if they're in the hospital, because everything is shut down, and you're not able to be there. And it interrupts the cycle for us, and psychologically that's it's extremely difficult to us to begin to go through the process of mourning and grief, and the subsequent healing, and and even just the process of moving forward, not forgetting the loved one, but just the process of returning to life, even in the in the observance of the death of a loved one in Judaism. You sit shiva for 7 days. You don't do anything. You just sit and grieve and mourn. But after a week, um, you don't go back to life, but you don't just sit and mourn anymore. You begin to like slowly work yourself out. So then you get to a month, and then after a month, you begin to go back to work, and you begin to you say Kaddish once a month at that point, and then at a year, you lay the headstone on the graveside, and from that point onward, it's a once a year thing on the yard site of the passing of your loved one, where you go back and you allow the grief to rise again, and you mourn, but then you continue on with your life. And it's very interesting. My our family, we just went a week ago, I think, could have been 2 weeks ago, to my grandfather's graveside, and it's actually who my son is named after. And it was his yard site, his annual, the day that he passed away and was buried. And we went to it. We went to his graveside. We said Kaddish, and it was Brittany and the kids and me and my parents. And so it was 3 generations of Waldman men at his graveside, and it was a very special moment. And it was this is something that I've been working in with the girls now for a year or two. We've been visiting the grave sites of my grandparents, and we talk about life, and we talk about what happens. And I think it's very healthy to allow them to begin to understand that they never knew any of my grandparents, but but it's just important to be able to have that conversation. I really do think, and so I think this is the same thing with Shabbat, with everything that we do with our time. It's important to have the conversation, and especially with children, to if you have a child and they ask you why, it's important to be able to explain why. And if you can't, it's important then that they're asking you why, because that way it drives you to understand better. So I think this is the way we live life. I think it's very important to understand what we do, why we do it, um, and how we can utilize it to bring glory to God. So, anyways, I totally went off on a totally separate tangent, but you got anything else?
No, that's it for me. That's cool though.
So, all right. Well, it was good seeing y'all.
It's good to see you guys too.
Your mom didn't say hi to us on.
I know. I can't believe it. No. She told me. I think she had a phone call, so she told me to give her a call afterwards. So I know, right? Breaking the streak. Oh well.
Seriously.
Oh well. There's always next week, I guess.
Yep, that's right. So, all right. Well, I will. I will see you guys next week.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, you too.
Shavua
Thanks
tov.
everyone on YouTube for joining us. Shavua Tov.